Yeah, sure.
So
So good. Introduce.
go ahead and begin.
So we are Ukrainians. We live in Kiev, and we would like to talk about the Chernobyl. So the Chernobyl disaster, also referred to as simply Chernobyl, was a catastrophic nuclear accident that occurred on the 26th of April, 1986, at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. But actually it is the information every Ukrainian knows by heart, and I would like to just tell you the way I feel about it. So as I said before, I live in Kiev, and that's less than 100 miles away from the Pripyat, and it takes only 2 hours to drive to get there by car. So how long does it take for it to for gases to reach this place or other cities or even other countries? Because everybody knows that Belarus is located just 20 kilometers away from the Pripyat station, and still so many other resources inform us that only 31 people have died during the accident itself, but everybody understands, I guess everybody understands that hundreds of thousands of people have been affected by the explosion, and as a result we've got the overhead level of cancer and misbirths and even alcoholism at the certain region of Ukraine. Actually, we are not done with this problem even now because the reactor is still not closed, as you can see from the photos, and it is still and the radioactive area is still out there, and the water is still polluted, and the grounds, of course, and actually the springs, if they are polluted at that place, the water is been not clear in Ukraine as well, in the Kiev as well. So how can we be sure that we are healthy? Yeah.
My name is Alexandra, and I'm going to talk about social conflicts that are caused by the Chernobyl disaster. One of the conflicts we face today is social vulnerability of affected populations during the accident, now and maybe in the future. Another one is the failure of government and other people who were authorized, their failure to comply the law of Ukraine that talks about the status and the social protection of people who were affected by Chernobyl disaster. What is more, the secrecy of information about the sale of the accident, its reasons, and the results is also important to people, but it isn't so easy to find it. What is more, the insecurity of people who were liquidators and who didn't have the necessary protective clothing and dosimetric measuring instruments also influence the points of view of other people. And finally, it was a thing that the permissible dose of radiation was lowered, and the doses that liquidators had also were lowered, and it bothers people a lot.
Hi, I'm Anna, and I would like to tell you about more subjective side of this Chernobyl catastrophe. And I would like to talk how actually Chernobyl influenced modern way of thinking, not only Ukrainians, but also the whole world, because it this problem includes a lot of small problems that can affect on the whole world. Uh, First of all, the whole picture of the modern world changed after Chernobyl, and philosophers in the West are still trying to explain uh, what changes was brought by Chernobyl. Mm, Also, a French philosopher Frederic Lamarchand said that we rise in front of the origin of the new world. So he meant that the new epoch came when the Chernobyl happened, the epoch of regress of our society. Also, researchers emphasize a special role in the cultural Chernobyl formation named the nuclear culture. And the Chernobyl also transformed today from only historical event to the symbolic event, which actually symbolized um, other way of thinking of our society. And we had, and now we still have, need in new philosophical, cultural, and political rewarding. So um, people's mind have changed after Chernobyl, and now we have a lot to think about before after what happened. There was also, it is said that there was also era before the disaster and after. So a lot of people um, that was born that were born in Chernobyl and the area near it. It is said that they lived their life before Chernobyl, and what happened after. They have absolutely changed their mind, their opinions, their attitude to the world and society at all. Also, Chernobyl was an important factor in the struggling for Ukrainian independence, because when Chernobyl happened, Ukrainians started to talk to include criticism in their of the social system, in their opinion, and uh, in their speeches. And also, Chernobyl helped to create our national identity. Yes, and people, when Chernobyl happened, people said that it was destructive political action, which aim was to destroy the national landscape, ancient culture, and authentic Ukrainian people. And actually, it is now popular to nationalize nationalize disasters. So it means that we try to find an explanation what this catastrophe caused to our nation. And Chernobyl itself performs the leading role in consolidation Ukraine and also Belarus, as it was said. Um, Chernobyl also um, it is by some philosophers it is said that Chernobyl, the problem of people that who lived in Chernobyl, and so this catastrophe is in their pessimism, that they can't live their normal life after what happened, because they, as I said, their attitude to the life changed, so they can't um, mm, see the world in those colors that they did before. And so, as you can see, now it is more becoming more and more popular to we are watching this process of nationalization of the Chernobyl catastrophe. Yes, and also it is in Ukraine, it is popular to say spiritual Chernobyl. It has a lot of different meanings, and every person has its own explanation. But in modern Ukraine, spiritual Chernobyls gets particularly well known as design global spiritual and religious, environmental and national street. So, and also we say spiritual Chernobyl when we want to emphasize, to make some emphasis on the some problems of our, it may be family in our society, in our country. So we say spiritual Chernobyl. And also today the concept of spiritual Chernobyl is becoming more in catastrophic colors. So we use it to say about something really big, about big problems in our country, society, and and it is said that spiritual Chernobyl means disaster, moral disaster, and also accepted as extinction of our nation. So that's what it means.
Hello there, my name is Anna also, and I would like to add some information about moral side of Chernobyl. And for us, of course, one of the most significant and maybe moving aspect is realizing what the moral Chernobyl means. And hence, no less than some historical facts and economic changes and consequences after ecological disaster, it is important to comprehend what is the attitude to the world, and what is the world view after the Chernobyl catastrophe of people who have lived there. So first of all, this factor can provide to us that this enormous that this enormous accident, horrible accident, influence our worldview. First of all, and of course, it's hard and maybe impossible to stay fearless after so serious shock. So that people from Chernobyl need to feel safety, and however, expectations for new misfortune and for some new tragedies tragedies occurred them anyway. So the catastrophe have really horrible consequences, and I would like to represent some sets of statistics and say that this statistic can bring home to us that in the region of 70% of Ukrainian people today are afraid of being suffered from a new dangerous situation in Ukraine. And what strikes us as most interesting is whether I can say a potential hazard for a big number of people to suffer from firstly war, also striven to death, and some fluctuated economical situation, and maybe some economic collapses. So these indexes and facts can help to emphasize on worldview of people who have lived there, and nevertheless, the significance of this accident in Chernobyl is not hyperbolical, and no wonder that the vast majority of Ukrainian writers who have read in this region and who have lived there, and not and from all Ukraine also, they are writing a lot about this accident, saying that in ignorance of this accident can damage our comprehension about the whole Ukrainian history from the whole 20th century. So that's what we wanted to present you about our national catastrophe, about Chernobyl, and we hope that you have that you'll try to enlarge your information about what happened in Ukraine. So, and if you have any questions, we also are happy to answer them.
Yeah, I have several questions we prepared. I was trying to wait for my students, but we'll go ahead. What do you think young people think about Chernobyl 30 years later? I mean, I know you weren't obviously born, but what is the sense for what does Chernobyl actually mean as we're approaching April 26th, 30-year anniversary, real close now? What does it mean to the average Ukrainian student?
Well, actually, I can say that Chernobyl to the all Ukrainians means a lot, but also it's showed us and our parents and our grandparents how the Soviet Union was their opinion and their attitude to Ukrainians. Yeah, and that's true. So even, for example, at the first week of this catastrophe, all of these thousands of people didn't actually know what happened, and they were living there and weren't informed about all the details of this disaster.
Actually, I do not completely agree with Anna, because yes, the Soviet Union was not right while not telling the people what has happened and not telling them to get out of there and all that stuff. But now the Ukraine has been independent for more than 20 years, and we still didn't do anything with the Chernobyl. With that territory, we didn't close the reactor, and the pollution is still coming to all the country, to the whole country. Therefore, I think that it is really sad for everybody not to think about it as it has happened, but also to talk about the solutions we've done to it.
Yeah, I know that kind of brings up another question which I have. Do you think that the Ukraine would have handled it differently than the USSR? Or do you think the USSR just did it because they didn't care much about Ukrainians, or do you think it was just they just didn't really want to admit to a problem and would have been the same no matter who had control over the Ukraine at that time?
Sorry, can you repeat please your question, because we
There was
didn't hear
technical
Okay, great. I was asking a question about this. Do you think if this happened in '86 and the Ukraine was in control of their own territory instead of the USSR, that things would have been handled differently?
We can't say exactly what could happen, but we might say that, of course, our country wasn't ready to put up with this problem at all. So, of course, we would have some problems, even if we had our own president and our independence. Yes, at all.
Okay,
Actually,
go ahead.
Actually, that's the same that I have just told you. Because the problem now is many times less than it used to be, and we still don't do anything. That's why I don't think that we could decrease the number of victims. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let me ask you a question on this. If I mention nuclear power, and in the last couple of weeks we had the earthquakes in Ecuador, we've had earthquakes in Japan. The earthquakes in Japan were by another nuclear plant. They predict earthquakes all around the rim in the even maybe in the United States, potential happening in near Earth nuclear power. And I know that there's a power crisis in the Ukraine. Do you think nuclear power should be something that we should stay away from, or do you think that we should still attach? You guys are about to be leaders in the Ukraine pretty soon. Do you think that we should be going towards a different type of fuel, or do you think we should be trying to push nuclear power still?
I believe that that the future is will be dependent on the nuclear power, because all the resources like coils and oil and gas are coming. We are just really losing them right now, so there will be not enough of them in even 20 or 30 years, or in a century, of course. Therefore, I believe that we should use nuclear power, but we should develop our skills in making it, and we should be more careful with the way how we make it.
And also, I would like to add that today our economic and political situation depends on not having the nuclear power, and as long as we have enough measures to protect our independence, we could do that, and today we have opportunity to do this, and this depends on nuclear power.
I think it's not safe to use nuclear power because we don't know how to control it. Actually, we do, but it's not so safe to use it. Maybe it will be better to use some biological powers or from space, maybe, but not nuclear.
Maybe it's better to avoid all the wars in the world.
Well, it's kind of fascinating when you mention about that, but it was a Ukrainian scientist under the Stalin regime that came up with the idea of abiotic oil, and the idea that you could drill for oil almost anywhere. And in the early 50s, when before the Ukrainian scientist came out, and I would butcher his name, I can't remember. And then Russia went from an importer of oil to one of the largest exporters of oil. So, it's kind of strange. Ukraine may have a lot of oil there with, with the right development. So it's fascinating. I don't know. I'm just really leery about nuclear power, because I just feel like anytime it could be an accident like this, and this is really a sad situation. Agreeing with, I think it's Anna in the far right of the screen, that when she was saying about what is it like around the area today in the containment area? Because I've seen pictures and I've seen people doing YouTube videos walking around with no radiation, with Geiger counters, and they're still like almost glow in the dark type of a situation. What's it like around the area around the plant currently?
So actually, I'm not really sure, because I have never been there. But from the documentaries, I know that first of all, many people still live there. So many people refuse to go out of there, and they still drink the polluted water. They still grow vegetables on the polluted ground, and they eat them. And even though they of course they are sick. Almost everybody over there has got cancer and diseases like this, but they still live there, and it's possible, as we see. But of course, everything there doesn't work as well as it does in other cities. There's not enough of stores and schools and stuff like this, but in many cities people still live.
It's actually an empty territory.
The Pripyat, the town where the reactor was, is now closed completely. So nobody lives there, because it is physically impossible, as the radiation kills person after 2 years of staying there. But in the towns around it, yeah.
Now, I mean, that was I know it was kind of the way I've seen the documentaries and stuff. it's kind of a wooded area, but then there's farming surrounding outside of that area. Are people hesitant about buying any food crops or any kind of produce or anything from that area even today?
Actually, it's not. I think it's not absolutely legal to do this, but I know that there are a lot of people that do it in the legal way, because they take, for example, wood from there and made some furniture, and then they a lot of people buy this. So actually, this problem still exists, but it's not legal, I guess.
Okay, and now I know since you guys are directly south of there, correct? Are you guys south of where Chernobyl is? Is Chernobyl north of you?
Yes.
And the winds did not carry any radiation towards Kiev, did it?
We can say that they didn't hear anything. Yeah, were northern, so they brought the majority of it to the Belarusia. But there is still a high level of radiation in Kiev as well.
Okay. Enrique, you have a question?
First of all, thank you very much, Mike. Receive my warm greeting from Lima, Peru, to all our friends in Ukraine. We are very happy to share this wonderful moment. And at the same time, we admire how great the Ukrainian people is to overcome a difficult situation. And at the same time, I ask myself how a country can build a national identity by solving such a tremendous catastrophe. We here in Peru are very surprised by the way how you solve the problem that was created through the radiation that damaged so many people. We can see several videos of Ukrainian kids who were taken to Cuba to receive medical treatment, and how the people there face the challenge of helping the little kids who were injured by radiation. At the same time, you give to the world a great proof on how to work together and solve this tremendous problem. At the same time, you give us a good example on how to work together to solve problems that are related to all the people in different areas in your country. Your English is pretty good. Congratulations for your effort to speak in this wonderful language of instant communication. At the same time, I am very grateful to Mike Cunningham, our best friend in Texas, who promotes this kind of approachment among different cultures, different people, different students. And it's a very good time to see the new generation of Ukrainian girls who are eager, who are happy to face the challenges that appear for the future generations. Really, Mike, we are very happy that you offer us this wonderful moment to share the ideas and what are the attitude of this wonderful group of girls who represents the new generation of Ukrainian people who are trying to make their best effort to offer a new opportunity to their citizens. At the same time, you give to the rest of the world a good example on how a nation can work together to solve their problems. Really, Mike, thank you. And I appreciate all the detailed information that the students from Ukraine has given us.
Thank you, Enrique.
Thanks.
I
Thanks for
have
the support.
a couple more questions for the Ukraine. I'll put Enrique back on mute just a second. Next question, in 30 years from now, so at the 60th anniversary of this, how do you think things will be remembered about Chernobyl differently than at the 30th anniversary? What do you think in 30 years it's going to be remembered as?
Of course, we believe that in the future we will remember about all the our historical facts, not only about the Chernobyl. And today, a lot of students, and for example, from our team, and anyway from other schools, they are interested in reading. Some Ukrainian and other writers who could tell us a lot about this situation and even, of course, about this catastrophe. And for example, we have read a book about the Chernobyl of our Ukrainian writer, Ivan Drach. And it was the Chernobylska Madonna. And I would like to say a little bit about the plot about the sense of this book. And the writer wanted to tell us that people who didn't want to move from that area. They was so dedicated to the motherland and to the Chernobyl that they can't they couldn't accept this situation and so horrible consequences. So it is so moving. And talking about the future, I guess these books they will be read. They will be written from different other new writers, and our history will be memorable. And of course, we will try to find out a lot new information about this.
Yeah, we've been joined by some people on Reunion Island off the coast of Africa and Europe as well. So they're going to join and ask a question. I'll ask one more question, and then we'll turn it over to somebody else. How do you think Chernobyl will be? Chernobyl happened in '86. 91, the Soviet Union or the USSR collapses and Ukraine gets its independence. So it happened so close. How do you think Chernobyl impacted the national identity of the Ukraine?
As it was said before, I think a lot of people think that actually Chernobyl, maybe it didn't impact exactly on our getting independence in 5 or 6 years after that.